All right, in this video, we are going to talk about a model view controller by looking at a specific example. So on Bitbucket, you'll see these two projects, loan controller start and then loan controller. So the loan controller start project contains a version of the application where there is a view and a controller, but no model. And then the finished version is in this loan calculator project. And in the loan calculator project, there's a model, view, and controller. Okay, so let's first run the start program, and so you can see its functionality. I get class not found exception because I haven't run it yet, so I need to go run as. Oops. I need to pull up main and then do run as Java application. All right, and so there's what the application looks like when it's running. What you need to do is to enter a loan amount and then a time in years and then hit calculate, and then the application will tell you what the monthly payment would be and the total payment would be for a loan with the entered loan amount for the number of entered years at various interest rates. So you can compare what the monthly payment would be and then the total payment of all your payments. Okay, so that's what the application does. So let's take a look at first the view. So I'm going to close this out. And with our applications, the view is accomplished or implemented through the FXML files, how we've been doing it. So I'm going to open that with Scene Builder and just take a look at it very quickly. Over down here in the hierarchy panel, down in the document pane, we can see that the root component is an anchor pane. And then in that anchor pane is a label, a text field, another label and text field, and a button. And then a text area down here. So everything is very simple. It's just kind of laid out according to the X and Y patterns. These things are probably anchored down to the edge of the anchor pane, and we can check that if we run it again. Yeah, it looks like everything's anchored over here and to the left, which this text field, this text area probably should have been anchored to a couple of, to the sides and the bottom as well. So if I click on the anchor pane and look under layout, actually if I click, let's say click on one of these, actually it's not anchored there. So the one that kind of bothers me a little bit is this text area here. I'd rather have it anchored on all of these sides. So if I save that, and then run this, let's see on resize if it, oops. Yeah, there we go. That's how I want it. Oops, I don't want that. So I'll need to anchor it to the top as well. So go ahead and do that. Save that. Get back to Eclipse and run. All right, so now it should act right on resize. There we go. So that's the advantage. Oh, no, it didn't do it. I guess I'll have to anchor it to one of these things. But anyway, that's the advantage to the anchor pane, is that you can make the elements that are in your scene anchored to one of the sides of the anchor pane. So it'll, if the window's resized, it will preserve certain aspects of that. So, okay. So now going back to Scene Builder, we can see it's really pretty simple. As far as the components on the text field, if I look, I do have a loan amount handler, event handler for that. So if the user presses enter when they're in this loan amount text field, then it will do the handling there. Same thing with the years text field. If the user presses enter while this text field is in focus, that will trigger this method handle years box. And then I probably have one for the calculate button as well. So there's 3 separate handlers that I use there, and that's pretty much it on the view. So it's pretty simple and straightforward. So nothing complicated there. All right, so I'm going to close this out. Next up, let's go to the controller. All right, so in the controller, I've got, oops, this line doesn't need to be in there. I've got the fields up here, calculate, one for calculate button, one for loan amount box, years box, and display area button. That's the button. These are the 2 text fields, one for loan and one for years. And this is the text area where the information is displayed. Okay, so I have those as fields. And for the handle calculate button, so when the button is pressed, then some calculations are made. Okay, so the first thing that happens is that the amount or the loan amount box is read for the amount. So it tries to get the amount out of that text box or text field and then convert it to a double. And if it's not a double, if that fails, then there is an error shown. So we can test that out. And so we get that warning that pops up like so. And it should be the same thing for the years as well. Should be the same thing if I hit enter in here, yes. Okay. So this in the catch block just gets triggered if the user enters an invalid loan amount. It does the same thing for years. Okay, so it goes and tries to fish out the number of years and convert that to an int. If that fails, right, then we get this alert here. All right, and then you can see there's a lot of other code taking place in here. And here is where I basically generate the table, and we don't really have to go into the specifics of that, but this is the text that gets displayed in that text area when the user presses or enters a loan and number of years. And so all of that is going on inside of the event handler here. Okay, handle calculate button. And then for handle loan amount box and handle years box, then when the user presses enter in one of those text fields, all it's doing is calling this same method right here. So I had 2 separate ones. I could have just gotten away with using one, just handle one of these and using the same event handler, because there's really nothing special in here. In fact, I probably could have just made this simpler by just using handle calculate button as the event handler for all three of those. Okay. All right, so that's it. So this is the controller, right? The controller, basically what it's doing is, sitting there and watching for the user to either click on that button or press enter while in the text field, in either of those text fields. It's going to get that event, and it's going to trigger one of these event handlers, and then some calculations are going to get made, and then the user interface will get updated. That text area will get updated with the loan table. Okay, and it works, right? You saw that it works, and that's all well and good. And so this is the controller. The thing is that as soon as when the user clicks that button or presses enter in one of the text fields, all of this method is going to get executed, right? This handle calculate button is going to get executed, and as soon as that is over, right? As soon as that method's over, all that data is gone. It's lost, right? Because the method's exiting, all of these variables, all of these things go out of scope, and it's gone. And now you may say, well, how is it gone? Because look, I when I run it, I get the loan payment or the loan table, and I can still see the data right here. I can see the loan amount, I can see the years, I can see the loan table, and that's true. You can see that as text, and I guess you could probably fish this out of the text box itself, right? But it's not residing. That data is not residing in the application at all, at any place. Okay, and so that's an issue there when that happens. Okay, and so in particular, what if you wanted that data to persist? What if you did this loan table, right, and then had it, and you wanted to save it to your hard drive or in the cloud or someplace like that, so that the application didn't want to do it again? That's impossible with this. And now you might say, well, look, this is not that complicated of an application. I would just have to retype these two numbers in to get the loan table. Well, that's not the point of this model view controller. Just imagine that it's something that you wanted to save and not have to retype the data over and over again. You just wanted to be able to pull it up, right, and look at those. All right. So what we're going to do here is to add an extra class to this application, and so that data, the loan amount, the years, and the loan table itself will all kind of be encapsulated into that class. All right, and you'll see, the benefits of that are going to be that now that data can be made to be persistent if you want to. It's separated out of the controller. Before, all this stuff is done inside of the controller, and then it's kind of gone. So you're going to see it's going to make the controller simpler. It's going to make some separation between that data itself, right? The data of the loan amount, the years, and the loan table. That's going to be separated out of the controller, right? So that's going to make the controller part simpler to maintain in the long run. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do now to accomplish that is to go over, and we are going to create. Go into application and right click that, and we're going to create a new class. All right, and we're going to call that new class loan table generator. Okay, and that's about all we need on that. So click finish. All right, and there is our new loan table generator. So, and now this is going to be our model. Our model in this application is going to be a class. Remember, what's the model? It is the data manager for your application. All right, so what we're going to do is go in here and make some fields for the data that we want to keep, right? And so that would be for the amount. We want to keep tabs on that. We want to keep control of the number of years. And we also want that loan table as well. And I'm going to go ahead and initialize that to going to go ahead and initialize that to the empty string so it won't be null. Okay. All right. So so again, we're going to be making similar calculations as we made over here in this handle calculate button method. You can see we have double amount here, right? And the number of years as well, right? So once we had the amount and the number of years, what we did was we generated the loan table from that. And so that is what we're going to do over here. So we're going to take this part where we generated the loan table, right? And that is going to go into our model. All right, so in that method, what we're going to do is we're going to take all of this code that we had here right, where we set up the string builder object, and you don't have to use string builder, it can just be a string, right? It's really not that much text. And we are going to, actually we want just this part right here. And I'm going to cut that out. And we are going to paste it right in here. All right, and so that method now is going to generate our loan table. So anytime we get an amount, a value for an amount and a value for years, we're going to generate that loan table. And there is one little extra piece of code that I need. Is this is going to generate the loan table here, this code. What we want to do though is to save it in this variable right here. So what we would do is do loan table. That's this field right here. We are going to save the output to that. All right, you might wonder, hey, why are you using string builder? Well, if you're generating large amounts of text, right, it is preferable to use string builder, right, because of the fact that it's faster than using strings. If you want to know about that, you go back and look in the in Java 1 where in the strings section there's some code there that kind of shows you the differences between string and string builder. So anyway, so this sets up a string builder because potentially I guess it might be a lot of text. It's really not that big, but anyway. And then this line right here is converting the information in the string builder to a string using the toString method, and then I save it in this variable loan table right here. Okay. Okay. So this generates the loan table itself, and that's about it. The other thing that we might need for this are the get and set methods for the amount, years, and loan table. Okay, so now all of the data is going to be residing here, right? Remember, this is the model, so the data manager. So your controller, it might need to fish some data out of this object. All right, so I'm going to go through here and I'm going to add some get and set methods for those fields. And here I'm going to do that by just using source and then generate getters and setters, and we'll do that for all three of these things right here. All right, then another thing that we might want to do is add a toString so that when you print this object out, in the toString we can set what the object looks like when it's printed out, or what gets printed out when the object gets printed. So I'm going to add a toString in here as well. Generate toString, and all I really want is the loan table. That's it. The amount in years. We don't have to have that. And actually, I just want loan table in here. That's it. So I just want the loan table. So what that means by adding this toString in here, if I print out a loan table generator object, that will print this loan table that was generated. Okay, so I'm going to save that. All right, and just recap. So remember, this is our model. It keeps track of the data, right? That the current data that's in the program. It keeps track of the amount, keeps track of the years, and it keeps track of the resulting loan table. Okay, and so and then this is the code that actually generates the loan table. We changed the toString to get the loan table to print, or get the printing the way we want it. We want the loan table printed when the object is printed, and then the get and set method so that the controller can manipulate the data that's in this model. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to have some problems, and you can see there's some problems in our controller now, right? Because we took a lot of this code out. Okay. And right here, the problem is we have text, right? Dot toString. You can see before that was a variable that was in our handle calculate button in our controller over here. So that variable has been moved out. Okay, so it's now in the model over here. And so what we would need to do is have some way for the controller to access the data that's in the model. Okay, and so how we're going to do that is to add another field up here. Okay, and what we're going to do is add a loan table generator as a field. All right, so that when the controller is instantiated, it will in turn instantiate a loan table generator object, right? And it will have access to that. All right, so we're going to create one of these objects that we just created over here, and we are going to be able to. The controller is going to be able to access that. Okay, so now going back here, down here, we need to fix this issue, right? And in order to fix that issue, what I'm going to do is just all we have to do is do loan table generator. That's our object that we just created up there, our model, right? And then it's toString. Like like so, and that should fix the issue. Okay. All right, let's save that. All right, so it's not perfect. You can see we have some warnings here. So let's go ahead and run that just to see what's going to happen. All right, so it runs, but when I put in some information here, a loan amount and a number of years, and hit calculate, you can see, right, nothing is happening there. Okay. Okay, and so the issue here is what we've done is we haven't passed, the controller hasn't passed the data over to the loan table generator. Okay, right? So we created a loan table generator object up here to hold the data. That's our data manager, right? We get an amount and we get a number of years, right? Well, what we'll need to do is to pass the amount and the years over to the model, right? And so we would do that with the set methods. ltgen dot set amount to amount and ltgen dot set years we would set that to the number of years here. Okay, so now, so the action, let's just verify that that works, and then we'll show you why that works. Oops, not working. Oh. Let's see. Oh, yes. Okay, so I forgot to do one more thing here. Okay, so all right, and that is we need to call this method over here. We need to call the generate loan table method, and probably, you know, we should probably be doing that in here, right? Whenever the amount is changed, okay, or whenever the years are changed, right, we should probably call the to update the table, right? Because if a new amount or a new number of years is in the table, then we should update that probably from there. But let's just call it from over in here. ltgen dot set it's calculate generate, sorry. Okay, and that should go. So if I enter a loan amount and a number of years and hit calculate, there we go. So there's the loan table generated. Okay. So I'm not saying that this is the perfect way to do it. There's some things I don't like about how I've done this, but that's okay. This is basically just to illustrate the idea of the model view controller pattern, right? And so what I did was I took some of that logic out of here, right? The loan table and these variables and all that. I took them out of here and made a separate class to keep track of the data, the amount, the years, and the loan table. That is the data that this application is using, right? The amount, the years, the loan table. So as it stood before, without the model, right, then remember I said that this data is gone. Once I hit that calculate button, it's completely gone out of the application. It's not saved in any variable. Yeah, it's still being displayed here in the text, right? But the data itself is not anywhere in the application. Now that is not the case, right? Now I know that this loan table generator object in the controller has all of that information in there. In that object contains the amount, it contains the number of years, and it contains the loan table. And you can here I'm really not doing. You might say, hey, well, what's the point if you're not going to save that to disk or do anything like that? But the point is, I could do that. Yeah, I would have to add extra code to that, and it makes it slightly more complicated. But so for these examples, I'm not going to do that. But it would be not that difficult to add some code in here that would save that to a disk and call it to where I could recall that from a disk as well. So the data now is separated from the application logic, right? So I've got the view in the loan calculator start in the fxml file for that. I've got the controller, which handles sort of the interaction between the view and the model. Okay, so like the middleman. And then the data manager, the loan table generator, is completely separated from that as well. All right, and so just to recap the changes here pretty much everything was the same. I got the amount from the user interface. I got the years from the user interface, right? And then the controller tells the model to change the amount based on that, to change the years based on that, right? Then to generate the loan table, update the loan table, and then the controller tells the view, right, to update itself with the latest data from the model. Okay, so again, that's a lot cleaner. You can see that everything is kind of separate. The view is displaying stuff to the user. The controller is handling the interactions between the model and the view, kind of directing everybody what to do. And then the data is all kept over here in its own separate class as well. Okay. All right, and so that is it for this example. Remember, you can find the full code to that on our Bitbucket repository.